Well, let's bring in Kenny Holland now, the GM of the Los Angeles Kings, who got it done yesterday for LA as they're able to trade for and then sign Artemi Panarin to an extension. Kenny, great to see you. The Hall of Famer is with us, and I'm curious, Kenny, when you woke up yesterday morning, did you think you've been in this business a long time? Do you ever give up? Do you raise the white flag? You think that's not going to happen, and then something changed? What happened when you woke up yesterday morning?
I talked to the night before. I talked to Chris Drury. We had some conversations about a potential deal. Weren't close. We both agreed that he was on the East Coast, I was on the West Coast at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. That we would connect, and it gave us 5 hours to the deadline to see if we could find a solution. Went back and forth over the course of a few hours, and I would say within an hour, 45 minutes to go, it looked like we weren't going to find a solution. And then and all of a sudden things started to come together the last half an hour. Obviously, we had to get Panarin to sign off because he had the no move. And
Mm-hmm.
it was in the last hour that it all came together.
Ken, when you work through this process and you're going back and forth trying to figure out, is this going to happen, is it not, to land the player, but also to get him on an extension that fits for what you guys are trying to accomplish in LA, how important was the term of this deal to manage that process?
Well, it was huge. We've got to work for everybody. Obviously, it's got to work for Chris Drury, for the player Panarin, and for the LA Kings. So we we liked the term. Obviously, Panarin liked the term. We're anxious to get him in, and hopefully we have a deal beyond that. It's difficult to get. His 9 consecutive seasons, he's had more than a point a game. These kind of players are really difficult to get a hold of, and this was a great opportunity for our team. He's 34 years of age, so he's not old. He's got incredible hockey sense. He's elusive. He makes people better, and you look at the some of the contributions of players in their 35 to 40-year-old years around the league. So there's no reason why he can't be very a point producer here for a number of years going forward because of his hockey sense. He's a good skater and very elusive.
You guys are 3 points out of the division, 3 points out of a wild card. As you look at the rest of the way and the sprint coming back, you'll have 27 games left. What more needs to be done here to get you guys fortified to make a run?
Well, first off, John, is obviously we got to score a few more goals. We're near the bottom of the league in goal scoring. That was a big reason why we did the deal, not only for this year but also for the next couple of years. We've been good defensively. We had a tough night, a big loss last night against divisional loss against Seattle. So we got to bounce back. We're in Vegas here tonight. We have lots of divisional games. I think in our last 15 to 20, we have 15 at home and 11 on the road coming out of the break. So we got lots of games against teams that we got to try to get ahead of. So we got to play good defensive hockey. Power play scored 2 goals last night. We need that to come alive, and like I said, score a few more goals and get some offense by committee.
Ken, when is Artemi Panarin expected to join your team?
He's going to join us on the 18th, the first day of practice during the Olympic break. I believe that's a Wednesday, and then we play the following Wednesday. So it'll give the coaching staff and Artemi a good week to get acclimated to our team, to the area, and also for the coaching staff to kind of figure out who his line mate should be and where he fits best. And obviously, I'll work on the power play. He's going to go on the power play as well. So it gives us a good week to get him ready.
And Kenny, as you look at the league, and especially, this kind of dawned on me last night thinking about a question to ask you is, from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, is it different? Is your philosophy different on building a team because how the game has changed? Whether it be a certain aspect of the game that's changed, and now you need certain kinds of players. Has that changed all that much in your career as a general manager trying to construct rosters?
No, I think it's a lot of the same. ingredients. I just think they're harder to get, because
Yeah.
the league has expanded to 32 teams. The scouting departments, the amateur scouting departments for every team are bigger. I can remember in the 80s when I started, there was teams that didn't have full-time European scouts. The Detroit Red Wings were one of the few teams that had a full-time European scout. Well, now every
Wow.
team probably has 3 or 4 full-time European scouts, one in almost every country. So, I think you want to be fast, you want to have hockey sense, you want to have skill, you want to be mobile on the back end, you want to be able to move the puck up. You got to know how to defend when you don't have the puck. And the last team that's standing at the end of the year that wins the Stanley Cup does it better than everybody else. But I think we're all pieced together, build the same type of team. And like I said, it's just that was why in this situation for us with Artemi Panarin, to be able to get a player that we think can be a point a game player going forward for the next couple of years, and add them to our team this year was very, very important because, again, these players are very difficult to get.
So with this Panarin trade, which makes perfect sense for the reasons that you outlined, how will that dictate what comes next for you at this deadline? How aggressive will you be in terms of trying to add, given where you are in the standings, knowing that, well, you didn't have to give up a ton of future assets to get Panarin, but will you try and go grab a center or grab something else? What's in line for the Kings?
Well, I'm obviously going to work the phones, and if I can, we've obviously made a decision yesterday to, I guess we're pushing some chips in. But now it's not only for this year. It's not like he's a rental. We've obviously signed him up for 2 more years beyond this year. So it was a move made yesterday for today, this season, and 2 more. But obviously, when you make the move that we did yesterday, our goal is to try to get into the playoffs. And I think once you can get into the playoffs, anything can happen. So I'm going to work the phones. I think it'll be quiet for now. As you said just before I got on, a quarter of the general managers are over in Italy for the Olympics. They're going to be focused on that. I think my guess is probably week 10 days from now when you get into the last week of the Olympics. And we're 4, 5, 6 days away from the trade deadline, opening up. I'm sure that the phones will start to work, and I'll be on the phones seeing if there's something out there that can make us a little bit better with the move that we did yesterday. On top of that, I guess I'm going to go watch some college games and going to try to watch our American League team just so I got a good feel for our organization and looking at some players that we own in college and some college free agents.
So you GMs are allowed to kind of formulate deals during this break, and then you could announce them a minute when the deadline is over?
Yeah, you can talk, John. Yeah, we
Yep.
we can talk, but obviously you can't announce anything or do anything until. That's why I don't think it's you don't want to. You're not going to agree something today and try to sit on it for 3 weeks.
Right.
So the reality is you're going to get down to a few days in advance of the end of the Olympic tournament, and then have some conversations and. Like I said, this deal with LA and the New York Rangers, I mean, it started probably 10 days ago when the first time Panarin was a healthy scratch. The next day, Chris Drury called me and asked me if we had interest. And we had some little conversation. Then on Sunday, Chris called me and told me that he wanted this to happen before the Olympic break and that there was a time crunch. And obviously we got it done. So, it doesn't take 2-3 weeks to get a deal done. You can do a deal sometimes in one call and in 15 minutes.
Yep.
Sometimes you need a few days. That's why I think a few days in advance of the when the roster freeze, when the trade freeze goes down, there'll be the phone lines will start.
Ken, last one for me. Your first year in LA as general manager, and also Anze Kopitar's last year. What's it been like to spend time around him and to see this sort of farewell tour? It's amazing the respect that he has around the league for his body of work and his career.
Well, he's first off, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my opinion, and he's a first ballot Hall of Fame person. A great leader, great person, respects the game. As you said, as we go around the league, so well respected by his opponents. Many teams have waited after the game to kind of acknowledge his career. Obviously, would love to be able to, in his last year, get our team into the playoffs. So he has one last shot at a playoff run. But 200-foot player, plays the game the right way, respected in the locker room. And I think the way he plays the game, 200 feet and attention to team defense is part of the reason why the LA Kings are so good defensively and won the Stanley Cups in 2012 and 2014. He sets the tone, and he plays it the right way. He practices the right way. He respects the game, and everybody else follows his lead.
Better to live in Edmonton or Los Angeles during February?
It's pretty nice in LA these days, John. It's about 80 degrees. We're over in Vegas today. We're going back to a special place to be. LA's a special city, as everybody knows.
It is. Well, thank you for being a Frankly Hockey field filler today, Kenny. We appreciate your time talking about the big trade, and we'll see you down the road.
Thanks, guys. Take care.